Former candidate for governor and anti-government activist Ammon Bundy failed to show up for a deposition today to answer questions in the damages phase of the lawsuit filed against him by St. Luke's health system. How he will pay those damages or not is now being called into question by the hospital. Their attorneys claim Bundy is actively trying to hide his assets to avoid paying any possible penalties involved in this lawsuit. Bundy and his People's Rights Network organized a days-long protest outside St. Luke's Boise in March of last year over a child protection case. In response, St. Luke's filed the civil defamation lawsuit against Bundy, PRN, and Diego Rodriguez. That would be the child's grandfather and Bundy's friend. Well, new documents filed with a declaration by St. Luke's attorney Eric Stidham are trying to show Bundy and another man have set up shell companies in Wyoming and in Idaho to hold his assets in trusts so they couldn't be collected in a judgment against him. Those documents filed in Ada County yesterday show Prime Corporate Services, a Utah company which specializes in setting up businesses, helped create companies called Farmhouse Holdings LLC and White Barn Enterprises LLC. Farmhouse is based in Wyoming. White Barn is based in Post Falls, Idaho. But both companies show the manager as one Aaron Welling. White Barn Enterprises recently bought Bundy's 5-acre home in Emmett, valued at $1.2 million. To which he is paying nearly $2,600 in rent to live there. Well, Bundy sold that house because of a lien put on it back in November, after he didn't pay court-ordered attorney's fees from the month before. So, to get out from under that lien, Bundy transferred ownership of his Emmett property to White Barn Enterprises. The declaration also contains emails from December that show Aaron Welling asking a representative of Prime Corporate Services about moving assets to either White Barn Enterprises or Farmhouse Holdings, to which it was explained they should be put in the Wyoming holding company because rules there allow it to remain anonymous. And doing that, the email went on, means everything in the Wyoming company can be included in a trust and avoid probate, or avoid any of the assets being taken. Aaron Welling, by the way, also owns Potter's Construction in Emmett, which was also recently organized under Farmhouse Holdings, which is the Wyoming company. So Aaron Welling, whose name is on all three of these companies, also happens to be a friend of Ammon Bundy. Today, we asked Bundy, who is still holed up in his home in Emmett, about this declaration and whether he was familiar with White Barn Enterprises or Farmhouse Holdings or Potter's Construction.
I'm familiar with Potter's Construction and White Barn because White Barn bought my house. And Potter's Construction is a company that does construction here in Emmett.
Okay.
And I know the owner.
Who's the owner?
Aaron Welling.
Isn't he the former treasurer of your campaign for governor?
He is.
Are you familiar with emails between him and Prime Corporate Services talking about moving assets into either of these companies?
No, I'm not.
According to some of these filings, White Barn Enterprises is listed as the manager of Farmhouse Holdings, which is listed as the manager of Potter's Construction. So they're connected. Okay.
It doesn't sound like it's anything illegitimate. I don't know really what he does with the assets. All I know is I sold him my property legitimately, and I have no idea what he does with his business. St. Luke's put a lien on my home, and I paid the lien off, and I sold it.
Okay, so this idea that you and Welling are creating these shell companies to hide your assets, what do you have to say about that?
It's just garbage. He had this company, from what I understand, long before I ever had any trouble with my home or anything.
Well, long before isn't exactly accurate. According to IRS documents included in this declaration, both White Barn Enterprises in Post Falls and Farmhouse Holdings in Wyoming were established in July of 2022, 2 months after the lawsuit was filed by St. Luke's, and 2 months after Bundy decided he wasn't apparently going to participate in the lawsuit in any way. But the hits just keep coming because today's failure to appear at the deposition, well, that led to another failure to comply filing this afternoon. Bundy told us he has offered St. Luke's everything he owns, which isn't much anymore. And St. Luke's told us, well, it's not really about the money anymore. Well, it's about the money, but it's not about getting it from Bundy. Stidham has been clear. This lawsuit from the beginning and the compelling Bundy to participate in a deposition has been about pointing out the grift of the People's Rights Network. They want to bring to light how much Bundy and Rodriguez have made and now hiding as a professional extremist and conflict entrepreneur. Bundy still has a civil warrant, by the way, and a $10,000 bond against him related to this lawsuit.